come to order, please. Welcome to the October 15th edition of the Carter County Commission meeting. We have one member that won't be with us tonight, Elsie Tester. His mother fell and broke her hip. She's had to be taken to the hospital, and surgery probably be done on him, so he's not here tonight. So I'll remember him and his family. Call roll, please.
Ginger Peters.
Here.
Steve Ritchie.
Present.
Lawrence Hodge.
Here.
Nancy Brown. Here. Joel Street.
Present.
Richard Winters.
Here.
Ronnie Crivitt.
Here.
Harry Seas.
Present.
Charles Montana.
Present.
Elsie Tester. Steve Grant.
Present.
Tom Allen.
Here.
Joanne Blankenship. Present. Charlie Bailey.
Here.
Steve Renfro. Ken Arden.
Here.
Steve Chambers.
Here.
John Lewis.
Here.
Tony Fuller. Present. Russell Kite.
Here.
Scott Sands.
Here.
Bill Armstrong.
Here.
Pat Hicks.
Present.
Robert Goff.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll have our opening prayer by Lawrence Hodge, and then the pledge of allegiance by Ron Crivitt.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for the privilege we have to serve in this capacity, Lord, one more time. God, we don't thank you, Lord, and give you the praise for everything you've done. Father, we'd ask God for blessings be upon Miss Tester tonight, Lord, and just watch over her, care for her, the LC and the family, lead, guide, and direct. Thank you for our country. Thank you for our court, Lord. Thank you for the time we have together. Now help us to do what you have us to do in the right way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Mr. Richard, I make a motion that we accept the agenda as granted.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Richard, seconded by Mr. Arnott, to accept the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. That be Mr. Lewis and Mr. Sands. Motion carried. Acceptance of minutes from the previous meeting. Do I have a motion? So moved. Motion by Mr. Chambers, second by Mr. Ketchum. Made the second. Mr. Arnold. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Notary's box. Madam Clerk.
Martin Wallace, Colin Lansbury, Reggie Taylor, Brenda Gray, Willie Johnson, Eddie J. Allison, Andy Cooley, Robert H. Norris, Michael Geller, Teresa A. Deal, Jeffrey W. Pye, Tammy J. Hutchins, Chris Ann Bowers, Barbara Taylor, Justin Levens, Amy Meyer, Jamie Gibson, Christina Stevens, and not on your list is Margaret M. Little and Melissa D. Alcida.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence, second by Blankenship, is that you? Ms. Brown? Mr. Lewis. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to recognize our elected and appointed officials and guests. If you can stand, please. We thank you for your service. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we have the mayor's presentation of plaques.
Don Tetrick grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, graduated from Kansas City Junior College and Kansas City College of Mortuary Science. He met his wife, Frances Jane Smith Tetrick, in Joplin, Missouri, and they were married on June 14, 1941. In 1943, the Tetricks moved to Elizabethton and purchased the S. North Funeral Home, which we all now know as Tetrick Funeral Home. From his first day in Elizabethton, he loved and took great pride in this community. He was extremely active in many notable organizations: the Jaycees, Kiwanis, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, Community Chest, March of Dimes, Cancer Society, Heart Fund, Boys and Girls Club, Gideon's, Masonic Lodge, and Carter County Rescue Squad, to name only a few. Don was elected to virtually every leadership position available within most of these organizations, and fulfilled his role with a high level of professionalism and always served with great distinction. He served on the board of directors for Carter County Memorial Hospital and was the first chairman of the board at Sycamore Shoals. He also sat on the board of directors for Citizens Bank and was one of the founders of Security Federal. Don was a member of the First United Methodist Church, where he taught Sunday school for many years. Wherever he went, he made friends and never seemed to meet a stranger. The few accomplishments that I have outlined here do not begin to tell the story of this dedicated and humble servant and the many contributions he made to the city of Elizabeth and the people of Carter County. At this time, I feel it is most appropriate to have one of you who knew Don best to come forth and share with us your thoughts. Charles Von Kent.
During the course of my long lifetime, I've met 6 men. I counted them recently. I've met 6 men that I considered great men. They all shared the same traits. They were compassionate, caring, and they made you feel comfortable to be around them. Some were well educated, others were not. Some were well to do, others were satisfied with their station in life. I can truly say that in my life I've met, as I said, 6 people who had it all. Sincerity, caring, honesty, and above all, integrity. Integrity probably was the hallmark of Mr. Tetrick, in addition to the other traits I mentioned. There's no question that he was one great person. In addition to these traits, I can say this about Mr. Tetrick. He was a gentleman that treated the women of this community with utter respect, without question, with utter respect. I've tried to reason out the number of years I've known him, and I couldn't come up with a number because it seems like I've known him all my life. All my life. I got to know him best when he was chairman of the Economic Development Commission, and I was a fairly young fellow, thought I knew how to recruit industry, and he went with me on trips, paid his own way, drove his own automobile to St. Louis one time. I remember it's a Cadillac diesel. And I was surprised that sucker made it all the way to St. Louis on one tank of fuel. But here's the rest of that story. We went downtown in a sort of a seedy area, and he said, "This is where your appointments are." I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Mr. Tetrick, you don't go out in the new industrial parks and find people that want to move. You find them in downtown St. Louis, Chicago, etc. So he said, well, I can't leave my car here. True. So he stayed with it to keep somebody from taking the hubcaps, maybe even the wheels, sometimes the motors. But he was a man that was practical as well. I remember we spent some time in Toronto, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and the man paid his own way, his own motel room, his own food. How many people do that today, or that interested in the community? Probably about zero. But he certainly was one that carried his weight. I know that the success that I may have had was from having a distinguished looking, well-dressed gentleman with me. A man that could tell you about the community, because he had done about everything there was to do in the community. So, during 3 years and 3 days that we worked together, we brought 694 jobs to Carter County. Could we have done that without Mr. Teacher? Absolutely not. Because he was the man that was believable. This community is going to miss a gentleman, a statesman, a person who loved his adopted town and county. As Bill said at one time, he couldn't understand why anybody in the world wouldn't want to live in Elizabeth. I believe that was your quote, roughly, Bill. A man who contributed so much in his appointed time on this earth. Sons, and now the grandsons. One is president of one of the clubs, and one is president of the Rotary. So, this is a giving family. A family that has contributed much more than we ever knew. We didn't want people to know. But he did contribute, and I personally know he contributed a great deal to this community. May Mr. Don Teacher continue in our memories as he looks down upon us from his new home in heaven. Would the family come up?
On behalf of myself and the Carter County Commission, I'd like to present you with this plaque. It's a small token of our appreciation and to pay tribute to your father.
Our family, thank you very much. Knowing Dad, he was going to go to all that trouble. He thought this was way too much. I do want to echo one thing that Charlie said, and we won't take any more time. We just appreciate your time. But he did love the part of his life where he did recruiting for our community to try to get jobs. He really didn't understand why they all didn't come to Carter County, because he loved Carter County with all his heart. When he first moved here, the first night he got here, he moved here from Missouri. He rode a train here, and where he lived in Missouri, it was in August. It had been over 100 degrees for like a month. he got off the train in Johnson City, and it was like 2 a.m., and it was like 70 degrees, and he thought he'd reached the Garden of Paradise. We still feel that way, and I know he felt that way till the day he died. We thank you very much. We're going to have a presentation from Congressman Phil Rowe. I believe Mr. John A. Teague will be standing in for the Congressman. Mr. Teague.
The award that Congressman Phil Rose represented, John A. Teague is going to present, is the James H. Collier Service Award, which was named for Mr. Collier in honor of his career in public service as a district manager and Veterans Service Program Coordinator for the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, as well as his distinguished 28-year career in the U.S. Army and as an Army Ranger. The award was established in 2010 to recognize individuals who have not only served their country in the armed forces, but also continue to serve veterans in their public lives and careers. One of the special features of the award is the fact that the U.S. flag is flown above the state capitol in their honor, and an accompanying certificate signed by the governor is presented to the honorees. John A. Teague.
Mr. Bowers, would you come up front just a moment? 2 months ago, you stood at the Workforce Investment Board over in Johnson City, and Teresa Broom presented you with the James H. Collier Service Award. And Mayor, thank you very much for taking the time to share with us what that's about. You're among friends here and family, and you're a very well thought of person. So I'm not Congressman Phil Rowe. If you'll just sort of shut your eyes a minute, imagine that he's here. I want to read something that he has read into the congressional record. We're not trying to one-up what Teresa Broom has done, because it's very significant from the Workforce Investment Board that you received that award where it's originated. But Congressman wanted to read something that from now on can be found in the congressional record in the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I submit these remarks to recognize Mr. Arthur Byron Deacon Bowers of Carter County, Tennessee, for receiving the James H. Collier Service Award. The James H. Collier Service Award is given to veterans who continue to serve their country and fellow veterans through their retirement and into their civilian lives. Deacon Bowers is a veteran of the Korean War and has provided a perfect example of how one man can better the lives of veterans in his community. For 36 years, Deacon dedicated his efforts to the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. From 1974 till 2004, he served as the Regional Veterans Employment Representative. By the time of his retirement, Deacon had assisted thousands of military and their family in hospitals. Deacon also helped create both the Veterans War Memorial and the Walk of Honor in Elizabethton, Tennessee. And I can say that that is one of the finest veteran memorials there are in the district and the state of Tennessee. Mr. Speaker, I commend Deacon for his selfless contributions to Carter County's veterans and wish him the best as he continues to exemplify the volunteer spirit. This has been signed by Congressman Rowe, and on behalf of the Congressman, let me thank you very much for your service and who you are as a human being. Thank you.
Y'all got a little time because I'm going to be here for a while. Thank you, Mayor Humphrey.
Thank you.
And Mr. John Teague, thank you for representing Congressman Phil Rowe. This is a good man.
He is. I've got your back.
I accept this on behalf of all Carter County veterans. It has been an honor and a privilege to have served veterans and their families since 1968. As a Regional Veterans Employment Representative, prior to my retirement in 2004 from the Veterans Administration in Johnson City. I would like to take this occasion to thank members of the Veterans War Memorial Committee who raised cash donations and in-kind contributions to construct the Veterans War Memorial and Veterans Walk of Honor in downtown Elizabeth. The work of the Veterans War Memorial Committee is now complete, and a new oversight committee has been appointed by the mayor of Elizabeth, and it's Kurt Alexander, and is chaired by the city councilman Bill Carter, who is a retired U.S. Army colonel. And we urge, the War Memorial Committee and all of us urge you to continue to support this oversight committee as it maintains the Veterans Memorial and the mowing and upkeep of the veterans. Well, thank you very much. God bless all Americans. God bless all veterans.
Now we have the mayor's report.
Mr. Mayor, your commission and commission chair, how about that? On 2001, with a little 4-year-old boy that was killed last week down on Broad Street.
Mr. Chairman.
You want to be quiet in order, Mr. Gonzalez. We'll have a moment of silence for this 4-year-old young man that was killed down here on Broad Street this week. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. In late March of this year, House Bill 2658 and Senate Bill 2641 were passed by the Tennessee General Assembly. On April 10th, these bills became Public Chapter 686 as they were signed by Governor Bill Haslam, Speaker Beth Harwell, and Speaker Ron Ramsey. The new law authorizes counties, cities, and towns to display in public buildings and on public grounds replicas of historical documents, including, but not limited to, the Ten Commandments, Magna Carta, Mayflower Compact, Declaration of Independence, United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, Constitution of Tennessee, and other such historically significant documents in the form of statues, monuments, memorials, tablets, or any other display that respects the dignity and solemnity of such documents. In May, a set of 4 documents, historical documents, were framed and hung in the lower main hallway of the courthouse just outside the trustee's office. In late September, Senator Rusty Crowe provided the citizens of Carter County with a signed copy of Public Chapter 686 and a large gold seal of the great state of Tennessee. He gifted these as a framed set. Senator Crowe's gift is a very nice addition to our historical document display. It would be great if each of you would contact the senator and thank him personally for his thoughtful contributions. Over the past couple of years, I and Jack Perkins, some of you even, have received many complaints as to the overall condition of Dennis Cove Road. The property owners and motorists traveling this roadway every day had become extremely concerned that it had depreciated to a condition which put them as well as their property at risk. Just a few weeks ago, Jack's paving crew completed a resurfacing project which included the entire 5+ miles of Dennis Cove Road. Today, I feel that it is important for you to know that this has not gone unnoticed. Many of the individuals that filed those original complaints have phoned me to say thank you to the county for all its efforts in their behalf. I also received a thank you card, which I would like to share with you at this time. Therein, the party wrote, "I just wanted to thank you, the Carter County Road Department, the County Commission, and all others that were involved in the resurfacing and restriping of Dennis Cove Road. They did a great job. It's a much safer and very much appreciated by all. Thank you, Mr. Darrell Edwards."
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think something has gone unnoticed. In the 10 or 12 years that this program was instituted by the federal government to pay so much back for the timber cut in a national forest, we never had applied for this money. Thanks to your attention to detail, this was done and we got $53,000.
There was a little over $53,000.
$53,000. Now, what did we lose in the previous 10 years? Enough to do a lot of things in this county. Thank you for paying attention to detail.
Thank you, Commissioner. However, that's just a small portion of the total cost to do that road. But it was $53,000 we didn't have earlier. Of course, Jack had worked with Forest Service. There was another $25,000 that he was able to procure toward this. And again, $75,000 against the total cost is a small amount, but it really helped him. So we appreciate you, Jack.
Hey, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Since that's in my district, I have had a lot of compliments on that Dennis Cove Road. And everybody said thank you.
Well, you know, it's encouraging because many times we hear only the worst, but there are some good things, and the people do appreciate it when we provide service, okay? On Wednesday, September 19th, I met with Attorney Bowers and Jack Perkins as a follow-up to the lengthy discussions that occurred during the Monday, September 17th meeting of this commission pertaining to an agreement between Carter County and the Watauga River Regional Water Authority for paving of approximately 18 linear feet of Siam Road and 1,200 feet of Webb Hollow Loop. On Wednesday, September 25th, Attorney Bowers drafted an advance correspondence to Mr. Byron Trantham outlining the county's position. Therein, he confirmed acceptance of the authority's offer of $230,000 and the county's agreement to hold the authority harmless for the repair of said road. On Wednesday, October the 4th, I received a check from the authority in the amount of $230,000. These funds were immediately processed through the trustee and finance department. Receipts for these transactions are in each of your packets. Jack's paving crew began work on this project Wednesday, October the 10th. He plans on all work being completed by Thursday, October the 18th, provided weather allows. That's when we talked last week. Has that changed, Jack?
Yes, it's changed today. We had machines go down.
Okay.
We didn't put no asphalt down today. We were back in the morning.
Okay. Nonetheless, he's on track. He's pushing toward it. So, barring all misfortune, next week he should have it complete. And I'm extremely pleased that he was in a position to respond to this important matter so quickly. I'm confident that the citizens residing along and those traveling Siam Road daily are also very appreciative that the project is being completed before winter. So thank you again. During the May 21st meeting of the Carter County Commission, Mr. John Gregory, Regional Manager of Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, along with several other agency representatives, architectural firm Sean Shanks, as well as Redian Sykes, presented to you a very detailed overview of the proposed Elizabethan Coldwater Fish Hatchery. Therein, it became extremely clear to me that this is not a pork barrel project. To reiterate, just a few points made during the May meeting, the new facility as designed consists of the hatchery, interactive visitor center, fishing pier, boardwalk, and boat launch ramp. It would result in 100 to 150,000 pounds of trout and 40 to 50,000 visitors annually. Also, the 25-acre brownfield site would then become the focal point and anchor for new commercial development along our most precious resource, the Watauga River. I'm confident the release of groundbreaking news for this facility would result in an almost immediate economic boost to the economy here in Carter County and East Tennessee. Ultimately, Tennesseans across the entire state, from Mountain City to Memphis, would realize much-needed economic benefits. To send a strong message of local support for this project, on Thursday, September the 6th, I, Kurt Alexander, Fred Edens, Tom Anderson, John Hartman, John Gregory, and Bart Carter met with Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey here in the Mayor's Conference Room. The intent of this meeting was to provide the Lieutenant Governor with a condensed version of the presentation you saw May 21 and to make an appeal for his support. Further, on Wednesday, October 10th, Mayor Alexander and I met in my office to hold a conference call with Governor Hazard. The Mayor and I placed emphasis on the extent of city and county cooperation, the economic need within our community, and how the hatchery would complement Johnson County's Doe Mountain project. The Governor indicated that he was sure the project would be revisited during the next budget cycle. However, he made it clear that there would be considerable competition across the state for any available dollars. Later this week, I will send the Governor a thank you for his time and consideration. Enclosed therein will be correspondence from Tom Anderson, which will provide the Governor a much broader and detailed scope of the hatchery's economic impact and the actual return on investment that it will provide. Also, I have a conference call scheduled with Speaker Harwell tomorrow to address the same. It's critical, extremely critical, that the entire General Assembly see this project for what it actually is and not what it's been portrayed to be in the past. The project was first introduced in 2003 by TWRA and it is currently at a point where it could become a reality within a few short years, provided everyone, and I mean everyone, you as well, get on board. In each of your packets is a bid tabulation sheet completed by Redian Sykes at the close of bidding on Thursday, September the 27th, 2012. Please note that there were 5 bids received for the construction of the Elizabethan Carter County Animal Shelter. The actual base bids received range from $499,425 to $539,700, with the estimated time to complete ranging from 120 to 240 days. The lowest bid and fewest days to complete project was submitted by Landmark Corporation. After a very thorough review of the bids, the Animal Shelter Advisory Board elected to award the job to Landmark Construction. This recommendation was submitted for consideration to the Carter County Budget Committee during its meeting on Monday, October 8th, and the Elizabethton City Council during its Thursday, October 11th meeting. Both bodies voted to approve the advisory board's recommendation. Just before the meeting, to try to streamline things, I asked Chairman Sisk if I could go ahead and introduce this to try to limit discussion, and he agreed. So therefore, Mr. Chairman, a motion is now in order for the approval of the Animal Shelter Advisory Board's recommendation of awarding the construction contract for the Elizabethton Carter County Animal Shelter to lowest bidder Landmark Construction.
Do I have a motion to that effect? By Mr. Von Cannon, second by Mr. Sisk. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Steve Ritchie. Mark Harmon. Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Pass.
Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Crivitt. Harry Seas. Charles Von Cannon. Elsie Testor. Stephen Rand. Tom Allen.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Tom Davis.
Aye.
Dickie Redrow. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Joseph Todd. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
Aye.
Joel, do you want to change it?
No, I won't check.
One pass.
21 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. In each of your packets is a piece of correspondence dated July 31, 2012 from Planning Director Chris Schuler to Animal Shelter Director April Jones. Therein, Mr. Schuler informed April that Animal Control Officer Chris Pierce had been told when he was hired that if he successfully completed a 90-day probationary period, his rate of pay would increase by 50 cents on the hour. Mr. Schuler also requested that the pay increase be granted, for he had verbally agreed to this increase during his initial interviews with Mr. Pierce. Upon being informed of this matter, I asked the finance office to pull Mr. Pierce's personnel file. Ingrid informed me there was no written documentation in the file pertaining to any such hourly pay increase amount. Further, it has been my understanding from day one that Mr. Pierce is a part-time employee. Per the employee handbook, the introductory period for full-time and part-time employees is 30 days, not 90. Also, the handbook refers to part-time regular employees as employees who, upon completion of the introductory period, work fewer than 30 hours per week on a regular basis. On August 22nd, Ingrid informed me that at no time since his hire date has Mr. Pierce worked fewer than 30 hours per week. Further, the actual budget amount for Mr. Pierce's salary was only $11,248 for the entire year. To remain within said budget, Mr. Pierce would have been able to work no more than 54 hours per pay period, or 27 hours per week. Even though Mr. Pierce has now been instructed by April to not exceed 30 hours per week going forward, there are not sufficient funds in the budget to make it through this fiscal year, and a budget amendment is required. Working closely with the animal shelter and having been personally involved with many of the issues that have arisen after hours and on the weekends, I'm convinced that the county needs a full-time animal control officer. Today, I have received many compliments from the public as to the way Mr. Pierce is currently representing the county. If Mr. Pierce was made a full-time employee at $8 per hour and working 37.5 hours per week or 75 hours per pay period, as all the other individuals, the annual salary budget and benefit line items must equate to $26,167. On October 1, there was approximately $8,500 left in the budget for Mr. Pierce's salary. Approximately $11,500 additional dollars would be required if he were to be made a full-time employee on November 1. Currently, there is $18,728.96 remaining in employee insurance line item 58600-205. No monies would be required to be taken from the general fund or undesignated fund balance. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request a motion to make Mr. Pierce a full-time employee effective November 1, 2012, with an hourly rate remaining at $8, and to transfer $11,500 from the employee insurance line item 58600-205 and to deposit said amount proportionally to the animal control officer's salary budget, line item 55120-169, and all other associated benefit line items as required.
Mr. Mayor, in regard to your request, this is not the proper time. I believe this came before the Financial Management Committee and was discussed at length. The proper place for a line item transfer would be to first go to the Budget Committee, as you're well aware. Ms. Blankenship.
I was going to make a motion that we refer this back to the Budget Committee.
I have a motion from Mr. Blankenship. Do I have a second? Second. A second. Mr. Chandler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to respond to that, I'm fully aware of the process. I did bring... Okay. There are extenuating circumstances which we won't go into here, sir, and I felt it more appropriate. I had to first discuss the matter with the director, had to discuss it with the employee involved, lots of things in hand, and time being of the essence, and knowing that there's going to have to be an amendment ultimately. Why not do it now? I don't believe in kicking the can down the road, but nonetheless, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
The jail pods should be completely removed and the site cleaned up within a few days. During demolition process, many questions were raised pertaining to utilities and the like. A review of all drawings have resulted in the realization that our architect, J. Mark Rogers, did not do any design work for the installation of the parking lot at the annex. I have spoken with Robert Montgomery and John Hartman with the City of Elizabethton and have found only one conceptual drawing of the site plan. Therein is reflected a parking lot which projects over the open drainage ditch and consists of 40-plus spaces. On Thursday, October 11th, Ingrid and I met with Gary Tysinger of Tysinger, Hampton and Partners to discuss the scope of the project and to get an estimate as to the cost associated with his firm providing the required services. We met again today at 1:30. And again, Mr. Chairman, time being of the essence, we didn't have an opportunity. At 1:30 to review his proposal, each of you was provided a copy for review and consideration. To quickly summarize, Mr. Tysinger feels that the parking lot will consist of approximately 6,000 square feet and 34 plus spaces. The great thing about this, though, in my discussion with the city is the actual footprint boundary will be similar to that of the parking lot that was in place prior to the pods being installed and will not project over the open drainage ditch. To do that would require probably 6+ feet of fill once we put in the proper drainage culvert and the like. Cost prohibitive. The estimated cost to complete the project is $100,000. This does not take into consideration any unforeseen items such as poor soil conditions, stormwater requirements, and the like. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point during this time. The total cost for his services, as you'll see in your in the proposal, came in at $15,300. The intent is to expedite this matter, complete the design work, put it out for bids, and hopefully have a recommendation as to contractor of choice ready for submittal to this body during the December 17th meeting, provided all goes well. That's pushing. Keep in mind, we had 180 days from the time the pods leave, but we were way outside the window on the 180 days to remove the pods, 90 days for the parking lot. We're already outside that 180-day window. I've explained to the city of Elizabethton there's no way that we can make that 90-day, but we will proceed as expeditiously as possible in good faith. And I think they'll work with us on that. We just got to show that we're doing it. So, Mr. Chairman, a motion is now in order to authorize Finance Director and myself to enter into agreement with Ty Singer and Partners, authorize both to take all necessary steps that are required to expedite the process, and to authorize payment not to exceed $15,300 to TH&P, with the money coming from the litigation fund designated for courthouse maintenance. Mr. Chairman.
I so move, Mr. Chairman, that we do this.
I'll second.
Have a motion from Mr. Trivett, second by Mr. Lewis. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Just a minute, Mr. Lewis.
Hey,
Mr. Ritchie.
Shouldn't this be put out for bid?
Mr. Ritchie, as we discussed previously, when you're dealing with professional services, if you'll reference Tennessee Code Annotated 12-4-106, it clearly states that in this particular situation, these matters shall not be based upon competitive bids, but shall be awarded on the basis of recognized competence and integrity. We have Madden and Craig, we have TH&P, there's a few other firms in the area, but it does not have to be put out for bid, sir.
Good.
I'll make a motion, we table that until we can get it back to budget.
Have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Peter. Call the roll, please.
Sir, any discussion on that matter?
No, on the vote to table.
Okay. I'd just like to say a word of caution.
Call the roll.
Beaver Peters. Steve Ritchie.
Aye.
Norm Todd.
Aye.
Nancy Brown.
No.
Joel Street.
Aye.
Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Crivitt.
No.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
No.
Elsie Tester. Steve Morant.
Aye.
Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship.
No.
Charlie Bates.
Aye.
Dickie Renfro. Ken Arden.
Aye.
Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
No.
Sonia Coler.
No.
Russell Cott.
Aye.
Scott Sands.
No.
Bill Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Hicks.
No.
Robert Goff.
No.
13 ayes, motion table carried.
Now, sir, can I respond to that? It's already done, but I just don't, for the life of me, figure what you people are doing by kicking the can down the road. What are you going to do different to take it back to budget? Are you going to go out? You did refer it back to the buildings and grounds. That would have been the proper committee. If you wanted to investigate and find another firm, you're taking it back to budget. So I don't understand for the life of me how this works. Been here 2 years, still don't understand. Just because we're a governmental entity doesn't mean that we can run roughshod over our neighbors right across the street. During the commission meeting on September the 17th, this legislative body approved the expenditure up to $23,000 for Reedy and Sykes to evaluate the existing roof on the courthouse annex, to design a new roof incorporating the latest and best materials available, to manage the bid process for the project and oversee the work during installation. On September 25th, Ingrid DeLoach and I met with Robert Reedy. During this meeting, we signed a contract with Reedy and Sykes for the scope of this work. That same morning of the 25th, Robert Reedy, Kim Ornduff, also of Reedy and Sykes, had Tom Smith and I walked the perimeter of the roof. It was noted that there are several roof penetrations. These vary from skylight to power ventilators as well as static sewer vents. I searched through all construction documents at the courthouse and did not find a set of as-built drawings for the annex. Robert Reedy ordered a set at a cost of $188 from the architectural firm of Beeson & Beeson. These drawings are needed to provide a better understanding of the actual number of roof penetrations that currently exist and those that can possibly be eliminated. As you all are aware, the design of the new jail did not incorporate any office space for the sheriff, circuit court clerk, or courtrooms. Thus, the annex is in effect a permanent appendage to the new facility and must be maintained accordingly. It is imperative that this legislative body determine what the second floor of the building is going to be ultimately used for. The Building and Grounds Committee, along with the sheriff, should initiate immediate discussions as to whether all or any portion thereof will remain as a jail. May not be possible. I don't know. Mr. Robert Reedy has offered to sit in on one of these meetings. I think it would be great to have someone like this involved, in that you could bounce your ideas and have immediate access to his many years of professional experience. If you decide that a mixed use of the second floor is appropriate, may or may not be, one suggestion comes to mind. Currently, there's an urgent need throughout the county offices for file storage space. We've got records that date back to late 1700s. We're running out of room to put them. The circuit court clerk has run out of room and has put a large number of files in the basement of our buildings across the way at the planning office. I don't know about you, but I don't think that that's a proper place for important documents, especially storage long term. You know how basements are. Also, the office of clerk and master is virtually bursting at the seam, as well as that tax assessor. You can see that wall right there. There's a load up top in the office. We've got way too many file cabinets up there. Way too much load. Don't have any other place to put them. there's a crack, 7 crack as a result. We need to take a proactive stance now and make plans for the next year and the years thereafter. Why should we wait until a house collapses? 3,000 to 4,000 square feet of cell blocks on the second floor of the annex, once renovated, would be a great place for an archive/museum. Washington County just initiated a year and a half ago, well underway. City of Elizabeth just passed a resolution for archives. Talked with the librarian over there at length. There's not enough room in the end there at the library to handle both city and county files, so we have to take a proactive stance now. Once a decision is made and the space is dedicated, this would give Reedy and Sykes a good understanding as how they should proceed with the new roof design. The initial plan was to have the bid process completed and a recommendation as to the contractor of choice ready to submit for approval no later than November the 19th commission meeting. Right now, that doesn't seem feasibly possible. And we've got a lot of leaks over there, and we need to do something quickly, and that's why we expedite the process. But we've got a lot of issues that must be addressed first. It's just not a simple matter of going putting a new roof on. You've got to look at all the systems in place. What can we eliminate to reduce the number of penetrations to make it a much better product, one that will last many years? Thus, Mr. Chairman, I feel a motion to refer the matter and determine the best and ultimate primary use for the second floor of the courthouse annex to the Buildings and Grounds Committee would now be in order.
I think you're exactly right this time, Mr. Mayor. Do I have a motion for that?
Make a motion.
By Mr. Rowe, by Mr. Hodge, second. Mr. Lewis? No.
I'll second.
By Mr. Hicks. Any discussion?
We done went over the roofing over there, take the money from the litigation funds. And we agreed in the committee, Mr. Tester's not here, to spend up to $23,000 for our architect study over there.
For the roof?
For the roof, yeah.
There's no question about that, Commissioner Trivett. We're full understanding there. They'll work with us. They'll start the plan now. And they were waiting on this meeting to see if it's going to be referred back to Buildings and Grounds where they could come in and sit in that meeting and work with you guys to get your ideas as far as what the best use are. But if you elect not to do that, it's not a problem. I can pick up the phone, call Mr. Reedy, he can go ahead and full throttle, and we can have this thing just as we projected earlier and put a roof on it. But anytime you cut a hole in the roof, you've got issues. So I'd rather have as few holes as possible when we do it, and do it once and do it right, even if it takes another 30.
We went over this, discussed this roof for a long time in the committee. And we have a lot of leaks over there that needs to be fixed. It's running in the sheriff's department, circuit court clerk, the judge's room, and everything. So this will have to be fixed soon.
Right. Mr. Lewis?
If I understood Mr. Mayor right, you want to build in the ground and look at this jail. Now, the college is already gone. New jail's already overcrowded. If we take these cells out of this old jail, annex over here, we might need them sometime or another to put the prisoners back in. If we already got them, why tear it out? And the man in Natchez told me that the sheriff could put prisoners back in the old jail if he wanted to. With about 2 or 3 deputies. Maybe look around or something like that.
I think that was our argument, Mr. Lewis, on getting rid of the pods. Instead of putting prisoners in the pods, we could put prisoners in the old jail in case of overcrowding. I believe that was our argument to start with. You're right.
Well, it was, but I understood, maybe I didn't understand if Humphrey's right, that they might be a good idea to tear it out, make storage out of it in the cells, but maybe I misunderstood.
Let's get the roof fixed first, and then we can worry about the inside.
Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, the architect got the drawings, Judge, Mayor.
No, he's in the process of working now. There's been several delays. He had to secure as-built drawings so that we can take a look at what's below. The whole idea was to try to eliminate as many of those roof penetrations as possible before we do it. Now, if this committee says, or commission says, go ahead and do it, I'll be glad to call Warren and tell them to get it, full speed ahead, design the roof, and we'll deal with it later.
Ms. Blankenship, you have something?
I think Mr. Tester left our Buildings and Grounds Committee with that for us to be thinking about what we were going to use that space for. Is that not your understanding, Mr. Trivia?
Right, but let's go ahead and get this roof fixed, and then we can worry about the inside and what we're gonna do with it later.
I can change my motion to go ahead with the roof.
It's my
My
understanding,
motion to put it back to the middle
you know,
ground.
from the committee meeting, that we were already, that was our assignment
I
for
thought
the
we
next
had already
month, to
voted
be
on
looking
that.
at what that space would be utilized for.
Have we not already voted to fix the roof? Did we not do that?
Yes, sir, we've already signed the contract. We're ready to go. But in looking at it further, we realize that there are many roof vents, power vents and otherwise, kitchen hoods and everything that are in there now. Do we want to go ahead and put a new roof on and just put it around those existing vents, or would it not make a whole lot more sense and be more plausible if we go in and eliminate, at least have discussion with the architect so that he'll know exactly what's to be eliminated and what's not?
Isn't that what the architect's for?
He's offered his services to sit down with this committee, this commission, to help you understand so that we don't make a horrendous mistake like we did with the jail originally. But what I'm hearing is you guys don't want that service. You don't want to entertain it.
I beg your pardon, Mayor, we do want that service. I personally have talked to Robert Reedy about the jail, about the roof, and he did tell me that there was a lot of issues with that roof. But I was under the impression that you wanted the Buildings and Grounds Committee to look at what that second floor was going to be utilized for.
The whole purpose of that, Ms. Blankenship, is to have a good, clear understanding. The architect to understand what the end use is going to be and how many of those roof penetrations can be eliminated as a result. Otherwise, if we tell him to go full steam ahead and design the roof as it is now, he's going to build that roof around all of those projections that currently exist. And if you've got large openings, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, those hoods and those ventilation units that go up on the roof are extremely large in size.
That's correct, along the skyline.
And based on your experience, would it be wise for the county to go in and put a new roof on that have holes in it that would have to be plugged later when we're looking at something that should last 30 years?
It would not be, the kitchen will probably never be used again in that facility. It's going to have to be totally renovated if it does.
Mr. Hodge, would you like to go on to the original motion to send it to Building and Grounds? So they can see what,
Yeah, that's fine.
what to do with this. All right, Mr. Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've just asked the chief, are we not going to be able to use that jail whatsoever if we don't have a kitchen in it? Or can we not use the kitchen out of the new jail to serve those prisoners if we ever have to go back there?
Mr. Street, I'll be glad to answer that. I mean, we'll try to satisfy whatever we can to support the county. Right now, we're using the facility for evidence room upstairs, and the vast majority of it's not being used. We're willing to work with you in any way possible if we can. But I don't anticipate we'd ever use that kitchen again for a kitchen. We built a new kitchen, and we try to transport, if we put inmates back upstairs, we use the current kitchen in the new jail to try to transport food over there. The current kitchen, by talking with judges and future plans and attorneys, the biggest issue we've got, I brought this up the other night at the meeting, was a place where we can put the inmates when we bring them over. So the kitchen's not really a big issue for us there. It's just whether or not you decide you want to use part of the upstairs to house inmates again, and so forth. We'll be glad to talk to you and work with you however we can.
Mr. Mr. Trigger.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and fix the roof to where we can still house prisoners in there and do away with the kitchen stuff or whatever they think needs to be done and fix it to where if we have to, that we can still put prisoners in there. And I think that's for both.
Right now, we already have a motion on the floor to give this to the building and grounds. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
So I will get Chairman Tester. We'll see if we can set up a meeting, and I still think we need to take advantage of having the architect set in and give you some advice so that we can do this thing properly going forward, okay?
I should have said point of order. Because you didn't restate the motion before we voted.
Well, I think I did. But it's all right.
No.
So send this to the building and grounds, Mr. Von Camp.
So how do we know what we're voting for if we don't restate the motion?
Probably pay attention. I made the comment that Mr. Hodge had voted, or made the motion to send it to the building and grounds, sir. Mr. Mayor.
As close as we are.
And on we go. Each of you was sent a copy of the notice of violation dated September 12, 2012 that was received from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation on September 18th. Therein, several recurring deficiencies and/or violations were observed during the department's audit that took place on April 3, 2012. We were also reminded in the correspondence that there are several deadlines that must be met. The county is to submit a corrective action plan addressing each of the deficiencies that were noted in the report summary. This is somewhat troubling in that the county received a $2,500 fine in November 2010 for not having submitted its annual reports for the prior 3 years. At that time, I negotiated with the department in good faith and made a commitment that the county would do everything possible to ensure all future annual reports would be submitted on time. With this, the department reduced its fine to $1,250. In consideration of our track record, I felt compelled to take action toward increasing your awareness as to the MS4 stormwater program, as to what it consists of and the extent of the county's obligations. To that end, I contracted with Todd Wood of DT Wood Engineering, Inc. to appear before this commission on May 16, 2011. His lengthy PowerPoint presentation covered all the components of the program, left nothing unturned. He also provided you with a detailed schedule of compliance deadlines. On May 13, 2011, I sent a copy of the PowerPoint along with the compliance schedule to Mr. Schudler, Chairman Ralph Watson, and all members of the Planning Commission. On December 29, 2012, a copy of same were sent also to Mr. Schudler, Chairman Steve Pierce, Attorney Bowers, and Chairman Tom Bowers. I'll have to say that I am encouraged that the Planning Commission did in fact meet with Mark Braswell, Brown Patton, and other agency representatives on October the 9th to discuss the issues raised in the September 12 notice of violation. It is my understanding that Mr. Schudler would submit to the department the following day a compliance timeline for all items in question. On September 27th, Attorney Bowers delivered to my office the 2012 annual report as prepared by Mr. Schudler. I signed the report and notified Attorney Bowers that it was ready for pickup and to be hand-delivered to the office on the 28th, for this was the last day to be received, otherwise it would be submitted late. With my signature on the annual report, I attested to the following. I certify under penalty of law that this document and all attachments were prepared under my direction or supervision in accordance with a system designed to assure that qualified personnel gather and evaluate the information submitted. Based on my inquiry of the person or persons who manage the system or those persons directly responsible for gathering the information. The information is, to the best of my knowledge and belief, true, accurate, and complete. I'm aware that there are significant penalties for submitting false information, including the possibility of fine and imprisonment for knowing violations. In consideration of this and the fact that the planning director, per the Private Act of 1972, Chapter 360, reports to the Planning Commission. I informed Attorney Bowers on September 28th that I would not sign any future documents, irrespective of their time-sensitive nature. I respectfully requested him to bring this matter before the Commission during this meeting, and that you could decide who you would like to sign for the county in these matters. On October 1, he rendered an opinion in writing and provided a signature authorization form. His interpretation of the sections of the permit and mine are different. Section 6.7.1 of the MS4 permit states that the document should be signed as follows for municipalities, state, federal, or other public agencies. That's what Carter County is. By either a principal executive officer or ranking elected official. Section 6.7.2.1 and 6.7.2.2 states authorization may be submitted by an individual or position having responsibility for the overall operations of the regulated facility or activity, more along the lines of industry. With this, he recommended Chairman of the Planning Commission. I, however, feel that Chairman of this body, as being a voting member of the Planning Commission, would be the best selection. Therefore, that same day, I submitted the signature authorization form to the agency naming Mr. Tom Bowers as my designee. Chairman Bowers informed me on October the 5th in writing that he, not being familiar with the day-to-day operations of the planning office, declined my appointment. Is that not correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. He also suggested Mr. Steve Pierce, Chairman of the Planning Commission, to be the designee. My problem with that is, I personally don't feel that the Chairman of the Planning Commission is extremely familiar with the day-to-day operations of the MS4 program. This is just one example of the many problems associated with an individual reporting to a committee rather than an individual. That being as it may, Mr. Chairman, I would like some direction from this legislative body as to whom they feel, other than the mayor, most appropriate to represent the county with the MS4 program. And then I will submit another signature authorization form immediately to TDEC to correct this current situation at hand and not put us in jeopardy as far as compliance in the future. This is a can we can't kick down the road.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, in part. County attorney is certainly learned in the law and interpreting the law, and he suggested the chairman of the planning commission, since he is Mr. Schuler's direct supervisor and a voting member of the planning commission. And in my letter, I suggested Mr. Pierce as well, for the same reasons. And I think that would be in order for somebody to make a motion to appoint Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Chairman, I put that in form of motion.
I'll second. Second by Mr. Arnie, motion by Mr. Arnie, second by Mr. Chambers, to appoint Steve Pierce, who is the current chairman of the planning commission, to sign off on the stormwater report. Any discussion?
Who has signed in the past,
The mayor.
and why, I understand why he doesn't want to sign now. Because he, like you, is not totally familiar with day-to-day operations.
I believe Mr.
So,
Pierce is.
so what are you signing? A false, unless you know you're signing a false document.
I believe Mr. Pierce is familiar. Mr. Lewis, did you have?
Yeah, what Mr. Pierce, would that be a conflict of interest? Have a gentleman with the planning commission?
I'll let the attorney render his opinion on that.
I don't believe there'd be any kind of conflict, Commissioner Lewis. A couple of the examples and I certainly, I mean, it's the mayor's decision to assign a duly authorized representative of the signature. The statute or the regulation reads, all reports required by the permit and other information requested by the division of authorized representative of the division shall be signed by a person described above. The person described above is a principal executive officer or a ranking elected official. But then the regulation goes on to say, or, and that word being key, or by a duly authorized representative of that person. A person is a duly authorized representative only if the person is willing to, is above submitted written authorization for a specific position of that individual, which the mayor's got that and he's prepared to do that. A couple of examples it uses are a position of a manager, an operator, a superintendent, or a position of equivalent responsibility for environmental matter for the regulated entity. We obviously can't have Mr. Schuler sign his own report. He's the one who prepares it, so it has to be someone who he answers to. And I agree with the mayor in his recommendation. I also agree with Chairman Bowers, which is that neither one of these gentlemen are probably the primary person that Mr. Schuler answers to. It's the chairman of the planning commission. But if this board feels it should be someone else, I mean, the mayor, I think, is more than ready just upon a vote. It's your decision who you wish to have sign this report. It really isn't something that the Mayor Humphrey should have to sign. I don't think it's something that Chairman Bowers should have to sign either. I think it's someone that has direct supervision and understands the program and planning. And who that person is, that's for this fine body to determine.
Mr. Pierce under bond.
Ms. Blankenship.
Has Mr. Pierce been contacted to see if he's willing to do this?
He's received a copy of the letter that I sent to Mayor Humphrey, and I believe he is. Mr. Schuler could answer directly.
Mr. Von Cannon, if I may, Mr. Von Cannon had a very good question, though. He asked if Mr. Pierce was under bond, and I think that's a question to consider. I think if you look at the stat or the regulation when it mentions the position of manager, operator, or even superintendent, it's not, the regulation is not setting forth that it intends for it to be a constitutional officer.
What are we saying? Nobody wants the job back. Nominate you. You're the only one in here that is honest. Good.
Mr. Von Cannon, I certainly appreciate that. And that is true, I am honest. However,
Mr. Schuler.
Yes, sir. Mr. Pierce has been informed, and he will accept that as part of his duties as chairman.
Mr. Sis.
Mr. Bowers,
yes, sir.
the other Mr. Bowers, would it be more appropriate if we designate the chairman with no name? Because the chairmanship will change, or...
I actually think I mean, if this commission chooses to go that direction with the chairman of the planning commission, that's an excellent idea rather than naming an individual. I think the mayor and Mr. Bowers would both agree with that.
But with each with each change, there will have to be an authorization form submitted to TDEC to that effect.
I think so, but I do think if this commission chose that you want to be your director of planning commission, you could vote that today. Then the mayor, from time to time, may have to change his authorization as the chairman of the planning commission changes.
And attorney, one other thing, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Von Cannon made a very good point. Is the person bonded? Because this program, if you do not comply, the $2,500 fine was nothing. You know that we're deep into this program now, and if you fail to deliver, then it won't be $2,500 next time. I think they've worked with us, and they'll bend over backward to do whatever's possible to help us with any questions that we have, as attested to my conversation with Mr. Braswell last week. But there are substantial amounts of money that this county could be liable for if we fail to comply. So the bonding issue, I'll refer that to the county attorney. Mr. Ryan.
I will amend my motion to reflect Mr. Siskey's statement.
Just say the chairman of the planning commission.
Correct.
I think Mr. Sis will take that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Read that motion. What we're voting on here.
There's a motion to appoint the chairman of the planning commission to sign off on the stormwater report to the state. As the mayor's designated to do that.
Not without one.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Steve Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. I'm sorry, Joel. Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Crivitt.
No.
Harry Seas. Charles Von Cannon.
No.
Elsie Tester. Steve Grant. Tom Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship.
Aye.
Charlie Davis.
Aye.
Keith Renfro. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis.
No.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
No.
So,
17 ayes, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Montana, that's a good point. If you would like, I'll send it.
If you don't get the man bonded, then you made a mistake.
Let- I was going to say.
That's true.
I'll add Mr. Von Cannon. I will get out, Mr. Brassell's been very helpful, and I'll contact him and see if that's been an issue in any other situation like this, and can report back, and also report back to the mayor.
It would actually be an issue only if and when we were issued a fine.
I was going to say if the state's required that in any other occasion, I'll at least look into it and make sure it's something come up.
Mr. Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would make a motion that if Mr. Bowers sees it necessary for Mr. Pierce to be bonded, that we do so.
Do I have a second? Mr. Hicks, you second that? I will. Motion by Mr. Street, second by Mr. Hicks. Now, in the event the state requires a bond, that we move forward with that.
How much is the bond?
Well, we don't know what the state says what it might be, if one's required or not. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Have one no from Mr. Rich. No, Mr. Tripp, sorry, forgot to say that. Motion carried. Mr. Mayor.
One last item, sir. During the previous administration and now, exists a serious problem with very strong and offensive odors being generated through cooking breakfast and lunch on the electric range installed in the county clerk's office. The range is located directly below the return air vent of the HVAC system that supplies heat and air to the clerk's office, finance department, and mayor's office. The problem is such that it has literally made some of our employees sick. The lingering aroma of potatoes and onions or fried hamburger with lots of grease filling the air make it impossible to conduct professional meetings with our constituents, local business leaders, prospective investors or developers, as well as elected and appointed officials from across the state. It's actually an embarrassment. It's not the mayor's word. Mr. Anderson's been in my office with lots of individuals when it wasn't good. There have been many days when I have resorted to opening the windows, doesn't matter what the season, dead part of winter, summer, crack the windows, just in an attempt to evacuate the odors. Once in the building, it usually takes several hours. Large building, large intake, discharge, for the air to clear. Now, I brought this matter to the attention of Ms. Googe, and I've asked her to refrain from cooking during business hours. This has been really to no avail, for the frequency of cooking seems to have actually increased since I made the request. In search of an amicable solution, I consulted with Jeff Lyons of Johnson Controls for a fix to the problem. He suggested that the intake above the range be blocked off. He explained that this would cause the room to be pressurized and prevent the infiltration of odors in the system. I contracted with Norwell to do the work, wanting to expedite, do everything right. However, it didn't fix the problem. The odors are now being picked up by the intake in Mrs. Googe's office, which is right there beside the kitchenette. Thus, I asked Sandy Nave to take a look at the issue and make suggestions as to a fix. I felt it imperative because it's just like the sewer problem that we had when I first came to the office in the P-traps in the bathroom. The bottoms had rotted and fallen out. We had to get that fixed because it was putting everyone at risk. In each of your packets is a quote for the installation of an exhaust fan to be installed in the exterior wall of the kitchenette. The cost to do this work is estimated at an amount not to exceed $1,390. Personally, I have a problem spending any additional monies for a remedy. I think I've already went above and beyond. For this is outside the scope of conducting business in an office environment. It's not a cafeteria. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request, again, some guidance and direction from this legislative body as to how we are to proceed with this matter. What do you feel is in the best interest of our employees as well as our employers, the citizens of Carter County?
I'll refer that back to the Bear and Grass Committee, Mr. Chairman.
It's good. How long have you been frying taters in your office? At least 30 years. Has anybody ever complained before? The next time you fry taters down there, you call me. I love fried taters. And next spring, I'll bring you mess around.
We have a motion by Mr. Trivett, seconded by, who's second? Mr. Bayless, refer this back to the Building and Grounds.
I'll second.
And,
Could I
see
suggest
how that
something?
goes. But I would suggest something
Could I
myself.
suggest something?
It would certainly be cost effective.
That you
If
take
Mrs.
this money
Goodrich
and
would
divide
just
it
open
amongst
her-
the office holders so they can go out to lunch instead of cooking in the building.
If Ms. Goodrich just opened that window, I believe that would be late with all
Well,
that.
it'd be cheaper.
Yeah.
Give them a chit so they can go out and get the lunch outside.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Appreciate your action on that. Mr. Lawrence, I would advise that you come up to the finance office and talk with all the people in there. It's just not the mayor. You need to be informed as to how many of the employees are actually being negatively impacted by this instead of just making a joke.
We have a request for a recess. Got somebody to make a motion on that? Motion by Mr. Crippen, second by Mr. Chambers. We'll do recess for 9 minutes. Come back to order, please. Now we will have the healthcare presentations. Sheriff, you want to call those folks up?
What I can tell you today is that we had we put out the bids, 5 different companies bid on to be the health care provider for the jail. Those bids range from $478,800 being the low bidder, I guess all the way up to $551,516.80. In lieu of this, all providers were contacted by me this week and invited to come and give a 5 no more than 10-minute presentation to the commission so you can better understand and ask any questions. So I guess I was contacted by Dr. Francesca Shown. Their group, they just got called away for a medical call, so they are not here. I can try to answer any questions about them here in just a moment, but I'll go from the way the bid sheet starts with and just ask them to come up and give their presentation at this time. The thing that I was asked, because talk about negotiating would not be proper to talk about this, so I'd ask that each company talk about your original bid to be fair to everyone else. The commission can make their choices at that point. So I guess Southern Health Partners will be first.
I'd like to ask you all to give your presentation to keep it between 5 and 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me. My name is Brent DeWeese. I'm with Southern Health Partners, and we did submit the low bid. And would like you to know that we are a Chattanooga-based company here in Tennessee. We've been in business for 19 years. We service right at 30 jails in the state of Tennessee and 200 jails nationwide. Can't hear me, can you, sir? Is that better?
Don't hear you. Your microphone.
I'll touch it.
Yes, I'm Brent DeWeese with Southern Health Partners. We are a Chattanooga-based company. We've been in business for 19 years. We represent 30 jails approximately here in the state of Tennessee and approximately 200 nationwide. We have had the good fortune to work in Tennessee for a number of years and would encourage you, I think in our proposal we included a list of all of our current contracts, would encourage you to contact those folks for references. We have provided an extensive program as called for in your bid specs, and we believe that program to adequately fit your facility. We also think that there is potential to cut into that. So if we go into negotiations, we are able to probably provide some more savings for you. We normally would hire a local physician to act as our medical director. We have an arrangement already in place to do that should we be chosen. We have a number of local nurses that work in other facilities that live here in this county that work with us. One of us here with me tonight. And I would entertain any questions that y'all might have concerning your jail medical requirement.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis.
Did you say that you didn't have a doctor in your group who's gonna hire a local doctor here?
Yes, sir, we prefer to hire local.
How long will he be on the job per day?
That is in your bid contract, it's stated for the number of hours. What was bid is a lot more than what would normally be done in it.
Okay, what I'm asking is, if he's in on the job, say 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day?
Yes.
And then, after that time, if something happens in the jail, you gotta call him back in there, does he get overtime, something like that?
That's a contract deal with
You or the county pay that?
That's up to us. It's our contracted doctor. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would you just have CNAs, RNs, LPNs, what would it do? Nurse-wise?
We prefer to have an RN administrator and LPNs working otherwise. In addition to the RN administrator, we have an RN who is the regional administrator who does audits. Our vice president of operations is also an RN, and we also have an MD who is an overseer of our entire medical program. So those folks are always available.
You would never have CNAs or anything like that?
No, and we would prefer not to have CNAs, EMTs, et cetera, like that.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? One thing I would like to point out in our proposal is that we do indemnify, hold harmless, and defend the county in case of medical lawsuit, and the county and the sheriff are named by name on our medical malpractice insurance. So,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
That was Southern Health Partners. The next will be Correct Health. Correct Health.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Correct Health, thank you, Sheriff Mathis, for the invitation to come and speak to the commission tonight. My name is Alan Adams. I have 37 years of correctional experience, the last 8 or 9 years in correctional health care. I was the director of the Office of Health Services for the state of Georgia's Department of Corrections for a number of years before I retired and came to work with Correct Health. So please believe me, I'm familiar with jail and correctional health care. Joining me tonight is Mr. Joey Stanton. He is a consultant with our company. He has 32 years of county and state government under his belt. He don't hardly look 32 years old, but he is. Dr. Carlo Musso, our owner and CEO, is a board-certified emergency room physician. His philosophy is first you provide care for the inmate. Our mission, as a matter of fact, says we will provide high-quality, comprehensive, cost-effective health care inside the walls of the correctional institutions. I think I can state with certainty that one of this sheriff and every sheriff's concerns is when they have to take an inmate from the jail to a hospital and suffer the cost of retail medicine in the hospital, in addition to the cost of the officers, the cost of public safety, etc. We believe that we can guarantee you we will save you money in the off-site care. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to provide nursing, LPNs and RNs, a minimum of 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're going to provide a medical doctor here on site in the facility 4 hours a week, and also that doctor will be on call 24/7. In addition to this, our comprehensive health care plan calls for a psychiatrist and a mental health professional to be on site at the facility, as well as a dentist. We'll have a dentist there for 1 hour, an average of 1 hour per week, probably twice a month for a couple of hours to deal with the dental problems. In addition to that, our program of comprehensive health care includes drugs. We pay for the cost of formulary prescription medications. We pay the cost of lab services. We bring x-ray services on site to your jail, along with ultrasound services on site to the jail at our expense. Also, in visiting in Carter County, we determined that it was very important that, in the sheriff and his staff's minds, that we take the risk of emergency room visits and the risk of all other off-site specialty care. I'm sure the reason for that is, if it is our risk, we have skin in the game in order to keep inmates inside the walls for appropriate care. And that is exactly what we will do in this contract. We will take full risk for emergency room visits of inmates and off-site specialty care, leaving the county with the risk for hospitalizations only. And that was my understanding of the previous contract. Let me mention what I think is the crowning star on our comprehensive program. That is a telemedicine program that we have initiated in several sites in Georgia and here in Tennessee over at Hamilton County. Pardon me. We will have a physician able to see a patient via telemedicine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in addition to the local doctor being on call 24/7, our telemedicine physician, who is a Tennessee licensed doctor, will also be on call to see any and every patient via telemedicine and get an examination of that patient prior to him or her leaving the jail, going to off-site care, so as to ensure that only those who need off-site care have to have it. Like the other gentleman said, we also indemnify the county and the sheriff for any risk that comes up. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks. Any questions?
May I say one other thing first? We've taken, I understand the sheriff asked us to discuss our current proposal. We've taken a very sharp pencil to our proposal and are able to negotiate significant reductions of what was reported to you initially.
Any questions? Mr. Chairman, I don't have none of these bids or what's that the answer to that? I've got one.
Sir, is your vote at 476,770?
It is, sir.
Thank you.
How much?
476,770.
Again, we are only looking at original bids. We are not looking at new bids tonight, so you'll need to go off the original proposal.
Okay.
Original bid is
It's about 22,464.
Thank you very much for your kind attention. We appreciate it, and we hope to be doing business with you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Bowers, thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to come and present to you tonight. I'm the last of the three presenters, I believe. My name is Neil Luthel. I'm the president of Advanced Correctional Healthcare. We are a physician-owned company that provides specifically correctional health care. We do not have any other business models. We provide correctional health care to over 220 jails throughout the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley. We go coast to coast from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico, from Georgia to Nebraska. We provide services to over 29,000 inmates on a daily basis. As you look at all the proposals, one of the things that you'll want to make sure that you're looking at is a comparison. Every bidder should have bid according to the RFP requirements. Because of that, we think that you have more cost in our program than is required. You have services that you may not need in a facility of your size based on our experiences, and you've heard from other vendors already tonight that there's an ability to negotiate those costs away. Because of the services that you're asking for, there's alternative ways to provide that without reducing the level of care or the competency of the care. Our program also is designed around correctional education. For Sheriff Matthews and his officers, we know that cost is a big component of the county's concerns. Anytime you need to send a correctional officer off for training, whether it's a TCI or other courses, it's added cost to the system. We have the ability to provide that training and is being certified through the TCI in terms of DVD programs that become the property of the county. Anytime there's a new officer or refresher training that's required, it's available on demand directly out of the sheriff's office. So these programs and these training tapes address the primary difficulties that officers deal with in a correctional setting. Again, our program is designed based on the requirements that were listed in the RFP. We know that we can provide a more cost-effective solution while still providing the mandated care, as well as providing the concerns or satisfaction of the concerns that the sheriff has in terms of his approach and the liability for medical care. Similar to the other vendors that you've heard tonight, our program lists the county and the sheriff as additional insured. Our services give you a $15 million aggregate cap in terms of any liability losses. That's a significant advantage for the county. The county will be named in a lawsuit just by respondent superior in terms of the authority that they have running the facility, but we stand shoulder to shoulder with the county in defending that. Again, our program is based on providing the services that were there. As you analyze the bids, I would caution you to look at, are all the items similar in each one of the bids? Because it's my understanding that we've had a price difference of almost $100,000 in price, and we can't have that big of a gap unless we have a change in services. Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have or any other comments. Yes, sir.
Say you got an inmate that comes into jail, and he's got a long, you don't know about it at the time, but he's got a long-term illness. And it will cost those facilities a lot of money to take care of his medication stuff. Do you recommend to the sheriff, or the judge, or somebody that you know, maybe get rid of it anymore?
We work with all the jurisdictional capabilities that we allow people who can be furloughed out for medical care so they can be released on their own recognizance. Sometimes that can't be the case, depending on the charges that they're in jail for, but we do not diminish the level of care that that person needs. So if, during the time that they're in the jail, we provide all the care that's necessary. If they need to go outside the jail for care, we negotiate with each one of the providers to get a price that's as low as possible. We have negotiated Medicaid rates, Medicare rates, significant discounts from all of our providers. One of the things, and some of the other gentlemen have mentioned, you know, they're based here in Tennessee. We work hand in hand with your current pharmacy provider. So we already have a relationship with the pharmacy provider, so that's not a change. We would hire from the community, which is one of the concerns we had. I appreciate the 694 jobs that were brought here. Earlier, as we were talking about the commendation that was awarded, it's similar to the other companies. We hire locally. We think that's the only appropriate way to handle healthcare within a facility, and we do staff and provide the care. The qualifications that other people have identified are similar with our company. We teach and train at the TCI every year. We teach and train at the national organization that's in charge of correctional health care. So we are the experts in terms of education, and that allows us to bring you a more qualified, more competent, and as I heard the mayor say earlier today, professional services programs are based on competency and integrity. I would encourage you to check the recommendations for all vendors for any services. The one other, yes, from Mr. Lewis.
Another question. Say you got a patient comes in and takes a pill that costs a lot of money. Do you still give him the same pill that he's got, and you try to give him something else that don't get him?
Yes and no. The answer is, if there is a generic alternative, we would want to put that person on a generic alternative, similar to your own health care program. If it's an expensive drug, that drug is our cost. There's not another cost that you would see come to the county with our program for pharmaceuticals. There are certain medications, you know, that you don't see very frequently in the jail setting. Cystic fibrosis, HIV or AIDS. Those people are very expensive, and if you wanted our company or any one of these companies to provide that medicine unlimited, we would have to estimate how many people you're going to have. We believe it's more in the county's interest to only pay for those expenses when they occur. But in your question of would we keep them on that medication, we would keep them on that medication as long as it was clinically indicated. We see many people coming into the facility that are on a host of medications that when you start to see them and you do the sick call with the physician and with the nurse, you start to identify that there are medications that they're on that are not necessary. But we would not take somebody off of a medication without having access to the physician to get that order. Yes,
what happens if you go over your bid before the contract's out here?
In terms of the cost of pharmaceuticals?
Yes, anything.
If we go over in staffing, if we go over in pharmaceuticals, if we go over in anything that's in that column under our bid program, and you should have a copy of that in your packet there, if we go over any of those costs that are under the ACH column, it's our responsibility.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Advanced Correctional. Is there anyone here from Correctional Healthcare? Correctional Healthcare. Okay, without saying that, so Dr. Urine, Francesca Sham, they were here earlier and had to leave, and then no one here is from Correctional Healthcare, so that's the three that you heard from. Southern Health Partners been the first, Correct Health the second, and Advanced Correctional the third. If you want to highlight those on your.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion, we take this little spin on this. It's, I believe it's Southern, yeah.
I have a motion by Mr. Trivett to accept the Southern bid. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. Question? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that would, I would ask Mr. True, that would give the right, all of these gentlemen have expressed that these prices could change, that we'd have the ability to negotiate the winning bid.
Does this have to be done tonight?
Yeah, we're without a division now.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Von Cannon.
was a very detailed request for proposal put out.
Yes.
Very detailed.
Captain Smith, would you stand up and hold up those proposals back there? That's the 5 companies that bid. Ms. Deloach has had them in her office. We've had those. We've reviewed them, and I will say all 5 companies seem to be very competent, have a good reputation. I would not be upset with any of these 5 companies. I think going back to bids, you know, you start looking at price. Obviously, that's something we have to be concerned about. There is quite a bit of difference. I mean, from 94,000 difference from first to top, I think, approximately. So, but all 5 companies are very reputable in my examination.
Sheriff, did all of these companies, I heard one mention dental benefits. Did they all have certain dental benefits? Was that in the requirements?
All went out for dental benefits to our specs. I don't recall, did any of them leave that out, guys? I think everybody's included in there with dealing with the dental benefits. Now keep in mind, when we talk about dental, we don't do fillings, bridges, those kind of things. We do Advil, saltwater rinse, or extractions. That's the extent of our dental services that we provide. So, yes, Mr.
You got the extra $100,000 in your budget?
No, that's going to be an issue. I mean, obviously there's a money issue. That won't be that full amount this year. Again, hopefully whoever you decide to get the bid will negotiate it a lot closer to our where we're at. But as of right now, the low bid is about $119,000 difference.
I was going to ask you, Sheriff, we know 118,000, right?
Yeah.
We want to spend 478, we got about 360,000, right?
That's correct.
And we leave about 118,000.
That is correct.
I think what we need to do tonight is we need to grant permission, if it would be your will, for the sheriff, County Attorney Bowers, and myself to sit down and negotiate a contract with the person that you select if it's the winning bidder. Because the contract that we bid out, you've heard them all say, we've bid out much more details than we need. So it would be up to the sheriff to say what he would like in his contract, and therefore the price could be adjusted accordingly.
All have shown interest in whittling the pencil, so to speak, and trying to negotiate it down. So.
These bids are for 12 months?
Yes, sir.
Full year?
Yes, sir.
Will you be negotiating for the rest of this year for 7 months? Or?
Well, I think we would negotiate the overall contract for the extent of it, but that wouldn't cost us. Let's just, let me throw out an even number. Let's say we worked it down to say 50,000 above where we're at right now. We were able to work out something like that. Then you're only talking 25 or 30,000 to get us through the rest of this year, which wouldn't be that much. Then next year is when we would take the full bulk of it, Harry. Very good point. So it wouldn't hit us as bad this year because we're already so far into it, budget-wise. We've looked at that, so it won't be the full amount of what you're looking at because we're already several months into it.
That was part of the thing I was gonna bring up, instead of having this for a full year contract, take it up to where our budget is, and then we'll have another year, and that'll give you time to sharpen the pencil a little bit, bring it down, you know, and negotiate with us a little bit, and that's, take it up to where the budget starts.
I think anybody that gets the contract is they're going to extension, because one thing I've talked to with a lot of the providers is that when they start hiring nurses and bringing folks in here from other facilities and so forth, I mean, I don't think we want to be negotiating this or keep trying to redo this contract over and over. If we can pick a provider and narrow that number, that would be ideal.
I think we should go through July because, you know, we're mandated by the 81 Act to pass our budget in July. So if we run the contract through July, then that would be us.
And I'll work with, as long as the providers will, I'll work with whatever you give me so we can try to, I mean, if we can try to get medical in here, I've got to have a medical provider.
Well, the fiscal year ends on July 30th, so, I mean, June 30th. So if we run it through July 31st, that would give us an extra month.
Just so you know, you bid this out for a year contract. That's what was in the bid spec, so we bid it out for an annual contract. And I don't know that all of them would be willing to do just 7 or 8 months.
So there's probably no way the contract year is going to run the fiscal year.
Probably not. I think they're wanting to speak if you want.
Mr. Richard, I'd like to put it in the form of a motion that we give Mr. Lowe and the sheriff, and whoever is responsible for this, to sit down and work out the best proposal for this, and give you the authority to go ahead and negotiate contracts to the end of the budget in July or June, whenever it ends. That'll be for 7 months, I guess. And whichever one of y'all feels the best. One motion, and then we go from there.
We have a motion
on the floor.
That's correct. Mr. Arnold?
We need a position there, but we're in bad shape.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. We have a motion to accept the
Lowest bid.
lowest bid on this, and we also have a second. Any further discussion?
There's only $1,200 difference between Southern and Francesco, but there's a $21,000 to $50,000 difference in the cap. So for $1,200, that'd be another $100.
Your cap's actually larger on the lower bid, so that means you have a bigger chance of you got $50,000 worth of like a gift card, for lack of a better
Protection
term.
for us when they actually are admitted to the ER. The one thing I would ask that you include in that, if the low bid does not want to agree to that 7-month contract, would we have the permission to go to the next lowest bid? Would you give us that permission? Because they may not want to do that. If they don't, then that would give us so we can go to the next bid. That's the only thing I would ask.
Mr. Chairman, we all here can't negotiate this contract. We need somebody to sit down with these people, and we need to entrust them to come up with the best deal they can come up with for this county. We've got to have it. And so I would suggest that you, Mr. Byers, Mr. Loach, and the sheriff sit down and talk to these people and try to come up with the best deal for the county.
We're gonna have to vote on the first motion first, and then we'll entertain a motion for this negotiation.
Mr. Chairman, can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
I certainly see the need as a county that every contract run June 30th to July 1st is our fiscal year. I think long-term that's a great plan. But we issued bid documents on the good name of this county for a one-year contract. And these companies bid on a one-year contract. And I truly think we're amiss that we should, if we bid a one-year contract and we said that, we should stand by what we said and sign a one-year contract. If that is just doing what we said we would do. And I think that if we expect them to honor their side of the contract, we should do the same. I do think that when we're negotiating this contract, we could talk to this person about the second extension being for just a 6 or 7 month extension instead of another annual year, so that we could lock them in the future then to an annual contract with the county that expires June 30th. I just hate the precedent of saying one thing and doing another. And I think that's what we're about to do if we're not careful. I think we bid a year, we should honor a year and look at the second extension to get them in line with our fiscal year. I think it's just good business for the contract. That's just not.
I agree with Mr. Bowers.
Mr. Trigger, do you have something else? Do you have anything else?
Well, I'd like to have 7 months deal out of this, but I'm not sure. I'll change my motion to make it 7 months deal. Can I do that?
Well, you can, but you just heard the county attorney advise that we put bids out for a 12-month contract.
Yeah.
And we need to honor that, and then we can make it up on the next.
Well, I'll leave my motion that is 12 years, and next time we'll make a motion to take it for 6 months.
First extension is the time to get it in line with our contract. And I agree, long term, we need to do that.
This is for your contract, I realize that. But next time, when this contract runs out, we can negotiate a 7-month contract.
And that would be very pleasing to the sheriff's department. We would try to do that to cut the best deal we can for you all.
What worries me, we're without a jail, we've got a position over there, and we're liable to that, and it scares me. So that's the reason I make the motion, go ahead and accept the lowest bid.
Any others? Ms. Keller?
Well, the sheriff has asked us to accept the lowest bid as long as he'll negotiate with us. But I think we give him the authority to maybe go to the next one. So I think if you do, Mr. Trevor, could amend that motion to cover what the sheriff has requested.
All I was requesting that is if the lowest bidder that you get is not willing to negotiate, then we would have the authority to go down and to the next lowest bidder and start negotiations with them, if that would be appropriate.
I think we have to award a bid before we negotiate anything.
This is my advice to you, and I'm going to try to give it to you one more time because I gave it a minute ago and it obviously didn't get through. So I'm going to try this one more time. We have bid this. You have it in front of you. We have to go off of original bids. We can't go off of new bids that were brought in today. We're on original bids. So what I would advise for you to do would be to give authority to Keith Bowers, Ingrid DeLoach, and Chris Mathis to negotiate a contract with whatever vendor you choose. Now, if you choose the lowest bidder, that's perfectly fine, but you need to give somebody authority to negotiate that contract, because the contract that we just bid out was from October the 1st through September the 30th. Obviously, there's one change that we need to do, and there's several other changes that the sheriff would like to do as well, which could change your price, but you need to select a bidder first.
Mr. Chairman, I'll change my motion that we accept the lowest bid. We've given you, Mr. Byers, and the sheriff the authority to negotiate the rest of it.
I'd like to
amend too.
All right, you've amended your motion to accept the lowest bid. And then to give the authority to myself and Mr. Byers
and
Mr. Loach, the
sheriff,
sheriff.
and sheriff to negotiate the rest.
Very well, to have a second on that.
Second.
For Mr. Keller.
I'd like to amend the motion to include Joanne Blankenship, who's the only medical person on the commission, and the county mayor into the negotiating committee.
That's fine, but I don't believe two commissioners can be on a meeting like that.
I would be afraid to have two county commissioners serve on that committee
I would
without
decline
posting.
to be on that.
She said.
I provided my input whenever the contract was being written, so I think I've provided enough input already.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate the confidence Mr. Von Cannon has placed in the mayor and added his name to that list. But just like Ms. Blankenship, I was involved in the early discussions of our existing contract, and that was exactly what led to putting this thing out for bids. It falls under the scope of the sheriff, so per our financial management, 1981, Mr. Loach would enter into the contract, and in this case, the sheriff would have input because it's his department. So I would like to just decline that.
Question on the motion, sir.
Question on the motion.
All right, I need to repeat it.
Repeat the motion, Mr. Barrett.
The motion is made to accept the lowest bid and to have chairman of the commission, county attorney, finance director, and the sheriff enter into a negotiation with these people to cut it down for the next year.
Low bidder being Southern Health Partners.
Right. Call the roll, please.
Bidder Peters. Steve Ritchie. Mark Todd. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Crivitt. Harry Seas. Charles Montana. Elsie Tester. Steve Ray. Carl Bowers. Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey. Dickie Renfro. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. And Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Thank you, everyone, especially thank you to other companies that came and bid on this. We appreciate their time as well.
Thank you. Thank y'all very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Now, committee reports.
Budget Committee met October 8, 2012. The first item on our agenda
Let's make it the last item on our agenda.
will be the forensic service. Ingrid, do you want to?
Sure, I'll talk about it. We got the bill for the forensic service, which is where ETSU does our autopsies. We get that once a year. We had anticipated an increase in this fee, so we put $7,000 into our budget to cover that increase. However, when we got the first bill for the year, which we're billed quarterly, we got the first bill, we found out we were significantly short. So the total bill is $51,781. That leaves us $13,000 short in that line item. When we talked to the First Tennessee Development District, they gave us the printout on how they came up with that. It's based on a rolling 5-year average of the number of autopsies we do and how that breaks out. So I think we were satisfied with how they came up with that bill. However, we need $13,000 to come for that to put in the budget. And it was recommended that those funds come out of the industrial account where we have been previously taking that $15,000. There's still 13 remaining there, so it was recommended we just do a line item transfer to cover that.
And I make a motion that we approve this transfer.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Crivitt to approve. Have any discussion? Call roll, please.
Steve Ritchie. Mark Todd. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Crivitt. Harry Seas. Charles Montana.
This.
Stephen Rand. Carl Bowers.
Is that new money that they got from the state or?
Charlie Bailey. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Ron Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Excuse me. Sheriff Mathis requested a transfer from the reserve account of surplus auction funds. Wanted to transfer $14,190 from the reserve account for some vests, I believe. Is that what?
That's correct. No new money, as from the money that you all previously gave us from an auction, and paid for the vest, ballistic vest.
I make a motion that we approve this transfer.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Ms. Keller to approve this transfer. Any discussion? Roll call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Hugh Ritchie. Mark Hodge. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Crivitt. Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana. Steve Grant. Tom Bowers. Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Davis. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
We have another amendment, General Fund 101, number 2, 2 items. Total of $14,000 coming from fund balance. I make a motion that we approve this amendment.
Second. A motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Hodge to approve this transfer for this amendment. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Hugh Ritchie. Mark Hodge. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Crivitt. Harry Seas. Charles Montana. Steve Grant. Tom Bowers. Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Davis. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Ron Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next item is Solid Waste Fund 116, Amendment 1. Has one item, $6,000 coming from their fund balance. To reallocate funds for additional dumpster truck purchase. I'll make a motion that we approve this transaction.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Street. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Hugh Ritchie. Mark Hodge. Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters. Ronnie Crivitt. Harry Seas. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Steve Grant. Tom Bowers. Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Davis. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers. John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands. Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next item, General Purpose School Fund 141, Amendment number 2. Total of $414,000. Zero coming from fund balance. This is no new money. It's just putting it in a line item where they can use it.
Where's this money coming from, Mr. Sis?
It was in the budget, wasn't it?
$350,250. If you'll read item number 1, says it's the 21st Century Community Learning Centers Program Grant. That's from the state of Tennessee. That's for the after-school program. It's a grant they've received.
That was in their budget when we passed it, right?
No, sir, it's a grant they've received, so we're recognizing the grant outside of the
This
budget.
extra money come in out of the budget was passed.
Right, we don't recognize the grants in the budget so that they don't get mixed up with the regular funds. So that's outside of the regular funds, and we're recognizing that grant now.
So they got 414,000 more in grants since we passed the budget, right?
No, sir, they're actually transferring some lines in item number 2. If you'll look, they're reallocating funds, that means they're transferring between line items. Item number 3, they're pulling out of the energy reserve, which is the Johnson Controls money they put in to buy products that would conserve energy, and item number 4 is a line item transfer. So $350,000 is actually new money they have received.
Make a motion, we approve the amendment.
Motion by Mr. Sis, second by Mr. Chambers to approve this line item. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Steve Ritchie. Martin. Nancy Brown. Joel Street.
Because I'm employed with Carter County, I have conflict of interest in proposed practice voting. However, I require the argument my vote enter only my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and citizens. This body represents I.
Richard Redmond.
Aye.
Ronnie Crivitt.
No.
Harry Seas.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Here, Harry, respond. Did you respond to that?
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Steve Grant.
Aye.
Ron Bowers.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Bailey.
Aye.
Ken Arden.
Being employed in the Carter County School System, having conflict of interest, I know that.
Steve Chambers.
Because I am employed in Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare my argument and my concern to my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. I vote aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Rodney Toller.
Also, my employer of Carter County, I have conflict of interest in the proposal that we voted. However, I declare my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Aye.
Russell Cott.
Aye.
Scott Sands.
Aye.
Bill Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Hicks.
Aye.
And Robert Goff.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Last item I have is the Milligan College bond issue.
Tom, would you like to come on?
Thank you.
Milligan College bond issue is something that's brought for the Industrial Bond Board. Certain portions have to be approved by the entire county commission. And I appreciate Chairman Bowers and his motion that authorized to give us through November. Fortunately, we were able to get a document review completed in time to be presented this month. I know we requested it. And I appreciate Chairman Bowers for buying me the extra time just in case at the time I didn't think I'd be able to get through it all. But we did. Tom, you presented to the, or you were working on projects in the budget. Would you like to give a little overlay of the project today and all the legal aspects?
Thank you. Good evening. I know this is running a little bit long tonight. Milligan College, obviously a good tenant of our county, and we want to do everything we can to help them grow and expand. They have not built residential halls for, I think, over 25 years, and they had a gift given to them to where they can do some site prep. They're going to pour about 12 pads, but what they're looking for is it'll be a bank-backed revenue bond that would allow them to build 5 residence halls. Eventually, as money becomes available, they'd like to get all 12, but what they're needing is our Industrial Development Bond Board to allow, actually to act as a conduit, to allow up to, I think, about $8 million for the construction of these residence halls. Now, these are tax-free bonds. They're completely held by Carter County Bank. They will not go against the full faith and credit of Carter County. And the IDB board is a legal entity to allow this bond issued. And obviously, the attorney needed to review the documents because it is rather thick. So, but I think this would be us being good stewards to a very valuable asset of our county, which is Milligan, which is nationally ranked, and it continues to be nationally ranked for several years, and I believe we need to do all we can to help them grow. Any questions?
Tom, what reason was given for Milligan College not receiving some consideration on the bond issue to build their building?
In regards, no consideration.
Milligan College came to the bond board and asked for an issuance to cover building of several dormitories.
Correct.
And that was in the budget committee. What was your reasoning for not considering that?
Well, it's been under consideration. It's just the due diligence at this point, and that's where Attorney Bowers can speak to that.
You mean I read something that doesn't exist?
I think the budget committee passed unanimously, did not? Right. It was just recommended, yes. It did receive recommendations.
The budget committee voted to approve this pending the county attorney's review of the contract, which he thought was going to take more time. However, Bowers burned the midnight oil and got it all done and approved for us by this meeting. So it has already been approved by the budget committee.
That's where I got it. I read it. It's in the budget committee, but it said that there was a time element that you would, county attorney approval no later than November 2012 budget committee motion carried. Explain that to me.
I thought I just did. We voted to approve it during the budget committee, pending the review from the county attorney. At that time, he thought it was going to take more time for him to go over the contract that it had. He called me today and told me he had finished reviewing the contract and he approved it. So the budget committee's approval and his approval were presented to the full commission.
So where does that stand now?
We're going to vote on it.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. You didn't vote on something that is as important as putting several $100,000 in new building in this county? We're getting ready to vote on that now. Several $1 million in new buildings in this county?
Mr. Sisk, was the vote not unanimous to approve it?
Yes, sir.
They did, they did.
But it says here to begin with, not to authorize Anchor to. I just right away what I read. Has no intention of issuing any bonds this county year pending county attorney's approval. No later than November. So you approved it.
That's why I was going to go over
That's
it.
all I want to know.
The bond board as an agency serves as a conduit for loans for industrial development on several occasions, in which the bond board does not assume liabilities. It's a non-profit corporation form, it's a subset of the county. The process goes through, that's how we did it in McDonald's, how we did for industry, several things. This was just a little different because we're the bond issuing agent in this cause. We're issuing $8 million, 7.5 actually. They've got some more getting us with $7.5 million being issued by the bond board. The only thing the county commission has to consider is part of the issuance of the bond is there has to be a 14-day public notice ran. Then we have an industrial bond board meeting. At that notice, obviously the public will come with any comments, both negative and positive. At that point, the county mayor, the chief executive officer of the county, will be there to observe and listen to those comments. As long as he finds nothing in those comments that alerts him, then this board will have already given him authorization to sign one document saying that it's in the public hearing, he's the other document needed by a county official is by Ms. Amy Deloach. The county can authorize up to $10 million per fiscal year in tax-free bonds. The city has done this for Milligan College in the past. However, the city had already issued a bond, and you correct me if I'm wrong, this year that took up too much of their room, so they didn't have room to do the bond issuance. So at that point, Milligan College had an industrial bond board and asked for us to examine. We, of course, called Ms. Ingrid. We know of no other bonds that the county's in potential even issue this year, so we've got the room to complete the project. What we anticipate this far, if this commission gives the mayor permission, as well as Mr. Lowe's permission tonight to sign the necessary documents, then the industrial bond is going to be tomorrow. At that point, we're going to look probably about 3 to 4 weeks out. We're going to do our notice for, we have to run this minimum of 14 days. We're going back to, Office of Works and County, and over 14 days out, have a public hearing, the mayor can attend, and then he can listen to the comments, and unless he hears something change his mind, because he needs to bring it back to his board, he will be authorized to sign off that day. The industrial bond board itself has to do the heavy lifting. They're the ones that have to vote to approve the bond issue and authorize Mr. Phil Isaacs, who's chairman of the bond board, to sign the documents. Through the documents, in my review, Carter County assumes no liability, and absolutely no liability for the indebtedness. It doesn't go against our credit. We're not acting as full faith and credit or anything. That means it's not a county liability. The college actually puts up a portion of their land for the deed of trust, which we collaborate with Carter County Bank to be in, so we're going to go back after if there's ever any kind of default or reason for foreclosure. The college has agreed to pay the attorney's fees for an additional review. And the reason I'm having this done, I reviewed several of these contracts in the past for industrial bond board for the county when it's business to business. I don't care to admit I've never had a review on as an educational purpose. So I'm having a specialist review it on our behalf. Milton College is going to pay the bill for that. And it's about $350 an hour for the review. So that's something I didn't think we should have our line on. Milton was going to sign the agreement and pay that as well. With their final review, make sure they're comfortable as well. Then the bond board then will meet again. We will issue that day on the same day simultaneously the money will be transferred. We'll partly back to step in as a lender, and Northern College is the borrower will be the conduit. I've been done in several business issues. It's just a little different because it's education. But the statute's pretty clear that one of the ways you can do it on an educational purpose if it's for building of residence halls. It's just a clear gun statute.
Mr. Burns?
Yes, sir.
Now, we have $10 million we can do this with, right?
Yes, sir.
They're asking for $7.5 million.
Yes, sir.
Now, will that get us to where we only have just so much if we have to issue bonds again?
That is why for the board. That is why I informed Ms. Ingrid Deloach that she did not have the authority to sign the letter stating that 7.5 was fine, because this commission is on first and authorized the use of our portion of our $10 million. You guys make that decision.
And it's this calendar year.
Yeah.
This calendar year, December 31st.
Sure.
January 1st, it goes back again, yes.
You're not given $10 million or $7.5 million. You have $10 million of eligibility. That runs from January the 1st through December the 31st. If I even wanted to get a bond started today, I couldn't get it completed by December 31st. So what they're asking for you to do is to give me permission to say we're not going to use that $7.5 million of eligibility, write that off, and that's what they approved in Budget Committee to come no later than November.
See, we don't need it the rest of this year.
No, we don't.
But January 1st, we'll have another 10.
But I can't say that, so that's why we're asking you for approval of that.
With our mayor or our finance director signing documents without permission for approval, I understand
That answers the question.
Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Attorney Bowers, for expediting this. I was really disheartened. I thought we were going to have to wait till November. Time is the essence. We've got a small window of opportunity here. We just need to go ahead and take action on that tonight. Authorize Mr. Lowe's to go ahead and submit the correspondence activation process. Authorize myself to sign quarterly as needed or as required for this process. And then the bond board will be publishing the notices, or will that be the county as well? Okay. So 14-day window there. We need to do it tonight. So I think we need to find a line to go ahead and do such.
Question on the motion. Call the roll, please.
Peter Peters.
Aye.
Steve Ritchie.
Aye.
Mark Todd.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Joel Street. Richard Winters.
Aye.
Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Mary Sid.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Steve Moran.
Aye.
Tom Allen.
Aye.
Joanne Blankenship. Ronnie Bates.
Aye.
Ken Arden.
Aye.
Steve Chambers.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Sonia Coler. Russell Cott.
Aye.
Scott Sands.
Aye.
Bill Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Hicks.
Aye.
Roger Goff.
Aye. All right, motion Financial Management Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sis.
One other thing, in your packet, you have a list of committees for this year for, this is a draft. There's been some minor changes here and there, and there will probably be 2 or 3 more that need to be changed. So when that happens, if you'll let me know, we'll take care of it.
I make a motion to accept these with the changes now.
Mr. Truitt and Mr. Sis. The list of boards and committees, subject to, amendments. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
No, the ADA age, I was 6th grade. I was down here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to make sure about it.
Thank you. There's one item that we might be able to take care of now. There, on the civil service board, John B. Snyder's term expired, and that's your appointment.
I would ask that Dr. Snyder be reappointed to the Civil Service Board. He's been working great, working hard. I appreciate your service. John, he's done an excellent job, so I'd ask you to consider reappointing him back. If he's interested.
I make a motion to appoint John D. Snyder back to the.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Truitt, second by Mr. Arney, to reappoint John D. Snyder on the Civil Service Board.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Financial Management.
I have nothing to report.
Landfill Committee.
No reports.
Highway Committee.
Mr. Chairman, got one item here. It's been hanging around up at the Highway Department for a little while. I have a petition here from the residents upon Ripshin Mountain, known as Roaring Creek Road. They came before the Highway Committee requesting that that portion of the highway, the road up there, be renamed back to Ripshin Mountain. And we agreed to take Slim Miller's recommendation from the A.E. Miller Road, top of Ripshin Mountain, back north all the way to the Highway 19E on top of the mountain. If you go back to Ripshin Mountain. Now, at 911, all them come up, there is some things here that the people up on the mountain need to do. They've got to contact the postal department, and Randall Lewis, the trustee, name change of address, and we have to get the county commission here to approve this, along with the highway department road name change list. We have to put that on the road list. So I put that in the form of a motion that we name the Roaring Creek Road from A.E. Miller all the way back to 19E, the Ripshin Mountain Road.
I'll second. Motion by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Lewis, to rename this road. Any discussion?
Did they have a public hearing?
do that. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Law Enforcement Committee. Health and Welfare Committee.
We postponed the meeting with the rescue squad, the consideration until the November meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. Building and Grounds Committee.
Nothing this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Trigg. Have I overlooked it, any committee? We'll move on to our judicial commissioners election. We have two individuals applying for that position. One is Mr. J.D. Anderson, who is currently serving in that capacity, and Mr. Bobby Huffman. At this time, we'll ask these gentlemen to come up and say a few words. Mr. Anderson, if you'd like to come up and speak.
Expedited make me speak from here, Mr. Chairman, is that all right?
Can you get anybody here, Mr. Anderson? Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. I am J.D. Anderson. I am currently serving as one of your judicial commissioners. I've been doing this two terms, and I am very knowledgeable of the job. I have the health and mental ability physical ability to do the job, and I'm sure I can do the job and perform to your satisfaction. I appreciate very much another term to hopefully maybe the last term to serve as your judicial commissioner one more time. I think I'm offer the public that meet their needs and offer them a good service, and also assist the officers and the judicial system in the function of their jobs. And I appreciate any favorable consideration you give me for their reappointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Huffman?
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the commission, most of you don't know me, several of you do. I'll take just a minute of your time and introduce myself. I'm Bobby Huffman. I've been a lifelong resident of Carter County. I'm a Vietnam veteran, been married to the same woman for 43 years. I have 2 children, 2 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. I've worked 30 years for Carter County and as a member, excuse me, as a member of the Sheriff's Department. I'm familiar with all aspects of the judicial system during that 30 years. I retired a little over a year ago, and I'd like to come back as part-time status in this position for judicial commissioner so that I can continue to serve the county. And I'll answer any questions anybody has for the ones that don't know.
Have any questions, Mr. Huffman?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman. When the clerk calls your name, either answer with Mr. Anderson or Mr. Huffman. Clerk.
Peter Peters. Steve Ritchie.
J.D. Anderson.
Lawrence Hodge.
Anderson.
Nancy Brown. Anderson. Joel Street.
Mr. Anderson.
Richard Winters.
Anderson.
Ronnie Trivet.
Anderson.
Harry Seas. Charles Montana.
Anderson.
Steve Durant. Tom Bowers.
Huffman.
Joanne Blankenship.
Huffman.
Charlie Davis.
Huffman.
Ken Arden.
Huffman.
Steve Chambers.
Anderson.
John Lewis.
Huffman.
Sonia Coler.
Huffman.
Russell Cott.
Huffman.
Scott Sands.
Anderson.
Bill Armstrong.
Huffman.
Pat Hicks.
Huffman.
And Robert Ball.
Anderson.
against 10. Is anybody want to change their vote? Call the roll again, please. Just a second.
Mr. Chairman, can I approach this just 1 second?
Sure.
Consult with the county attorney.
Y'all hang in there for just a couple seconds.
Mayor's point out a statute, it is a relevant statute as far as just, and stating that the legislative bodies take into account the recommendations of the judge when making an appointment. And I think there's a recommendation in your packet, and I'm not, is there a recommendation in the packets? Okay. I just want to make sure everybody knew about that. But you're right, it is on point. As long as it's in the packet, I just want to make sure.
It's in the packet.
Okay, okay.
And you do have that for both candidates? You do have a recommendation for both candidates?
We have to have a majority of 13 to appoint someone, so we'll call the roll again.
Peter Peters. Keith Ritchie. Lawrence Hodge. Nancy Brown.
Mr. Anderson.
Joel Street.
Mr. Anderson.
Richard Winters.
Anderson.
Ronnie Crivitt.
Anderson.
Harry Seas. Charles Von Cannon.
Anderson.
Steve Morant. Tom Allen.
Bethany.
Joanne Blankenship. Charlie Davis. Ken Arden. Steve Chambers.
Anderson.
John Lewis. Sonia Coler. Russell Cott. Scott Sands.
Anderson.
Bill Armstrong. Pat Hicks. Robert Ball.
Anderson.
That's 13 to 10, is that correct? 12, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Don't have a dog in the race here, I really don't. But I just want clarification for the statute. In my packet, I don't have recommendations from Judge Wall for both candidates, and that was the point I was trying to clarify. Yeah, Attorney Bowers, is that, you and I are on the same sheet of music, correct?
Yeah, I don't think they'll both have to have recommendations. I think that it's clear that Judge Walton did recommend Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Well, for the statute,
The legislative body has to take that into consideration.
you have to take that into consideration, so if you didn't have recommendations for both candidates, then how do you do that?
I think it would be pretty clear that Judge Walton's recommended Mr. Anderson.
It's a 12-10 vote, and you do have a recommendation from the judge, Mr. Anderson. However, that does not obligate you to vote that way.
Traditionally, we have commissioners absent, we have over the next month. We hopefully have 2 more people here who may hopefully cast a vote that would decide it. But that's up to this commission.
We'll do it one more time if anybody wants to change your vote. If not, we'll have to vote on it again in our next meeting, and hopefully there'll be 2 extra people here to do some voting. So if you'll call the roll one more time.
Sidney Peters. Steve Ritchie. Norm Todd.
Absent.
Nancy Brown.
Mr. Anderson.
Joel Street.
Mr. Anderson.
Richard Winters.
Anderson.
Ronnie Crivitt.
Anderson.
Harry Seas. Charles Montana.
Anderson.
Elsie Victor. Steve Moran. Tom Bowers.
Huffman.
Joy Blankenship.
Huffman.
Charlie Bates.
Huffman.
Ken Arden.
Huffman.
Steve Chambers.
Anderson.
John Lewis. Sonny Color.
Huffman.
Russell Cott.
Huffman.
Scott Sands.
Anderson.
Bill Armstrong.
Huffman.
Pat Hicks.
Huffman.
Robert Goff.
Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, you'll continue to serve until our next meeting. All right, county attorney's report.
One thing I was asked to clarify from the Health and Welfare Committee, and asked to clarify this concerning some statements made by the rescue squad at that meeting. One statement was made that the rescue squad, or the Carter County Rescue Squad, was willing to adopt a program for elderly or low-income individuals to reduce payment or give some sort of payment scale, and they were going to adopt the same system that was used by the health department. Ms. Carolyn Hurt contacted me and asked that I clarify that the health department uses a sliding scale for services based off income, but there is no particular program for an elderly reduction just because of your elderly status. And Ms. Hurt did not want that information to get out that could tend to lead people to believe she had a program that didn't exist. And asked that I clarify that, and I was glad to do so on her behalf. Obviously this month, you've already saw one of the things we worked on quite a bit, and that's with the Milligan College bond issue. And we have quite a bit more to go through the industrial bond board on that, but hopefully that's something before we even come back, that'll be issued and completed. We had several issues come up for the animal shelter this month as far as research, follow-up research, and that's going to continue as we have a new director, as we're working out some kinks and making sure we get some opinions that she can go by on a continual basis. Completed, as the mayor mentioned earlier, Sam, paving issue, and as a person who drives it every day, I'm very glad to see the progress on that. Worked on the MS4 reports this month. As far as did attend a meeting for Mr. Schuler with the planning office, in which Mr. Braswell and Mr. Patton were present, and obtained a lot of information from both individuals, and were an absolute pleasure to work with. I've already prepared 2 resolutions on behalf of Mr. Schuler that the planning commission did recommend that we'll be presenting in the November meeting. Anticipate 2 to 3 more. So what we found out from TDEC and what the state of Tennessee needs, and Mr. Schuler will review those, and the planning commission will consider them before they come before this board. But next month, we should have 2 completed and presented for your consideration. talked with Judge Walton earlier this week concerning a meeting between Mayor, Sheriff, Chairman Bowers, myself, and himself with the relevant Sullivan County individuals to consider the day program. This program is probably the most exciting ideas we've had that come out of our initial meeting. Judge Walton has contacted the sessions judge he wishes us to meet with in Sullivan County. We provided dates that we can go as a group, gather information from them, find out how this program is implemented, find out about cost, all still gearing towards a presentation for the budget for next year. Certain counties, it appears, have had up to, anywhere between 30 to 40 to 50 inmates that qualify for this program that can dramatically reduce your head count in the jail, reduce your per diem you're paying for health care, and provide them work and provide services to the county and to the community while serving their time. It's a program that, absolutely exciting, because I think it's something that we can really get done. And as soon as Judge Walton gives me that date, I'll relay it to all the relevant people, and we'll schedule the meeting accordingly. We did review the driver's license kiosk program, or idea that Ms. Mary is considering for her office, and reviewed the contract, and I'm fine with that contract, and I've already told her that. And it's for the state to provide a driver's license renewal in her office. It should be a very handy thing for the citizens, and they're already in Ms. Mary's office so much already for their tax. It's just another courtesy we can provide as a county, and the contract's been reviewed, and we're ready to go with that. With your approval of the committees today, or of the nominations from Mr. Sis, Mr. Worley was appointed our Title VI and ADA coordinator. There's a few things I need to do to update our ADA notices, and I may ask for some money to run a public notice in newspapers as recommended by the guidelines, just to make sure we stay in compliance. And we'll do some new bulletin board posts throughout both courthouses to make sure we stay in compliance. Unfortunately, I have 3 issues that I need to do a closed session with the commission, all on pending litigation has either been filed or I've received demand letters from other attorneys concerning the county. And I want to give you an update on that litigation today. They're all really new, and a lot of work has been put in already to get information to our carrier, and absolutely, and I'm going to rely on the sheriff to tell me the name of the individual that escapes me, but the sheriff's department did just an unbelievable job putting together the information requested of our carrier. It's top-notch, professional, and it's going to let our counsel provide good defense. I just won't say that, we're still in public hearing. And is it McKinney, Officer McKinney?
Sergeant Stacy McKinney.
Sergeant Stacy McKinney. Absolutely top-notch. I'd hire him if you let him go. I'm telling you, you did a really great job as far as putting this stuff together. It's what you asked for as your attorney to get to your carrier. And if I can have a few minutes of the commission's time at some point, I'd like to at least address these litigation issues with them.
At this time, we'll go into a closed session with our county attorney, attorney-client privilege. So everybody other than the county commission members, the mayor, step outside. All right, we'll be back in open now. First County Attorney reports. Everybody gets back in. Public comments segment. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, commissioner comment.
I've got one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Street.
Mr. Perkins has already been bragged on tonight, but I want to brag on it a little bit too. Up in my district, last year we had a bridge on Salico go bad, and it was just a few months' time Mr. Perkins had that taken care of, and since then, through state aid money, he has paved all that road. It's been edged, driveways have been asphalted in probably a couple of feet, and I know the citizens are real appreciative, as myself. Thank you, Mr. Perkins. And his crew.
Anyone else? Ms. Brown.
I'd like to thank you for my new seat. I like it.
I'm glad.
The other thing is, I'd like to know from the county. How long can a commissioner not attend commission meetings before he has to be replaced?
I'll be glad to look at that for you. I don't know that off the top of my head, Mr. Brown, but I'll be glad to look at it.
Vote adjourned.